This episode of Rick and Rick is brought to you by Taskin, the first name in ultra-stylish, premium-quality travel gear like the Taskin Denali 4-wheel carry-on, featuring a sleek, jet black exterior, distinctive matte finish, exceptionally smooth rubberized wheels, and compact, lightweight form factor. Taskin Denali is one of the most stylish and versatile carry-ons anywhere. Save 30% on your next purchase when you use the promo code R&R Take 30. That's R&R Take 30 at TaskinSF.com.
It's the first new Star Wars movie in over 7 years.
Which means it's time for an official Rick and Rick review of The Mandalorian and Grogu.
This time out, superfans Eric V and Kurt Ho join in to add their takes to the latest entry in their all-time favorite franchise.
What works? What doesn't?
Plus a round of Mando and Grogu trivia questions to get your Kessel running in under 12 parsecs.
And it all starts right here, right now.
On the one show where almost everybody's name is Babu Rick.
And everybody rules the world.
Welcome to Rick and Rick Rule the World. I'm Rick Matheson, and I am joined, as always, by my good pal, Obi Wan Wootten. Rick Wootten. May the force be with you, Rick.
And also with you.
How you doing?
I'm good. You know, fresh out of the theater last night. I'm really excited to talk about this movie.
Did you see it on IMAX?
I did not, but I did see it in, what's the one, the wraparound, the Screen X or whatever.
Ooh.
So I did see it in one of the more fancy theaters. So it was a really great experience.
You know, I saw it on digital XD in 3D.
Ooh.
And I have to say, I enjoyed seeing it that way. It wasn't as big as IMAX, but I felt like the aerial dogfights and stuff were great in 3D.
Nice.
So before we dive in, folks, major spoilers ahead. But just to sort of set things up, The Mandalorian and Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau, co-written by Dave Filoni, and starring Pedro Pascal, picks up after the original Star Wars trilogy. So the Empire's fallen, but the New Republic is still trying to root out Imperial warlord hangers-on. Enter Din Djarin. He's a Mandalorian bounty hunter, and he's with Grogu, his tiny apprentice, who happens to be like a 50-year-old baby from Yoda's long-lived species. We have Sigourney Weaver as Colonel Ward, who sends Mando out to rescue Rhoda the Hutt, who happens to be Jabba the Hutt's buff slug with abs son. And he has to save him because Rhoda doesn't realize that he is doomed to die in a gladiator death match in Shikara. Double crosses ensue. Now, was a good time had by all? Well, that's what we're going to discuss here. So without further ado, let's bring in our Comic-Con crew, Eric V and Kurt Ho. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Hey. Hello. Good to be back.
Always great to have you. Kurt and Eric, please tell us about your trip to the Cineplex to watch this movie.
When episode 1 came out, Eric and I stood in line at the Mann's Chinese. Back then it was called Mann's Chinese. Waited for at least 8 hours for the midnight showing. And then we saw episode 1 and then we came out and then got back in line for the 7 a.m. showing. So Since it's been 7 years since the last Star Wars movie, I felt there was a need to get Eric and I back to that same location. So I was able to get tickets. It was really nice to be able to go to the Mann's Chinese. Eric got a bunch of photos of the George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, their footprints and handprints. And obviously, we found the classic R2C3. And I think Darth Vader had signed in the cement. It was nice just being back in that theater where it all started. You know, it was like just nice to be able to rekindle that Star Wars spirit.
What's your take on all the hype surrounding the movie?
They're telling everybody the movie's going to bomb. It's like, how do you know that? One, it's Star Wars. Two, it's the first Star Wars movie in 7 years.
Right. The softest Disney-era Star Wars movie opening, even behind Solo. But I also want to point out that apparently it made back its production cost in the first weekend. So they're going to do okay.
Right. They're fine. I mean, one of the things I kind of wanted to say about like all Star Wars movies, with the original trilogy especially, you know, they're all standalone. Like, you don't need to know anything. And Favreau and Filoni did a really good job on Mandalorian Grogu because you don't need to know like the backstory. Of course, the backstory helps. It helps a lot. But, you know, we get to see things in this movie that are not in the Disney plus series.
No, I'll vouch for that, by the way. I have not seen the series. I've seen maybe an episode and a half, and I don't think you need it at all. You could go in never even having heard of The Mandalorian and Grogu and pretty much get it.
Is that why you guys have trouble saying Grogu?
I'm not sure. Has everyone here seen all of the Star Wars movies, the main story 1 through 9, in theater during their original theatrical release?
All but Star Wars.
I think I saw all of them. Eric, you never saw Star Wars in the theater?
No, the real first movie I ever remember seeing in a theater was Star Trek, the motion picture.
That's awesome. I did actually see all the movies at this point in the theater, including the original. I was quite young when it came out, but I verified with my dad recently that, like, I'm not remembering this incorrectly, right? We saw this in the theater. He's like, oh yeah, we saw that in the theater. So yeah, I did have the good fortune to see all of them in the theater so far.
Yeah, I barely remember it, but yeah, I was there. Okay, so tell us about your Star Wars experience and the Mando experience.
I definitely started out with the original Star Wars movie, and I was a fan. I had all the collectibles. I, had the Darth Vader case with all the characters in it, and I forget. I had a couple of the ships as well growing up. I remember being a little bit older and standing in line at the local mall, kind of wrapped around the mall in order to get in line to see The Empire Strikes Back and then Return of the Jedi. As the movies were released, I always made a pilgrimage with some friends to go down and catch all the different movies. Starting with the second 3, I started seeing those with the boys, and they got to see those movies growing up, and it was kind of part of the family thing. When they would come out, we'd go down with my brother and his family, and we'd all go watch the movie. So
wow,
yeah, big fan forever.
Yeah. And longtime listeners may remember that I joked once. I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen a photo of you in a Jedi outfit at one point, but I don't think you ever posted it online. And your response was, well, I wasn't wearing pants that time, so it's probably a good thing.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I'm going to attempt to do this on the newer movies. I probably get it wrong here, but when Phantom Menace came out, people laughed every time I did it. Let me try it here. Oh, Annie.
That's a Watto. You could get away with that.
Anyway, back to The Mandalorian and Grogu. So I didn't see the show you guys all have. Did it successfully make the transition to the big screen?
I would say yes, 100%.
Yeah, I was impressed. I'm glad they made it for a lower cost, and thus the expectations on the revenue is lower. But also, they said about 10 episodes would be about 120 million. So basically, they spent an extra 45 million for extra effects and stuff. So I was impressed with the are they still AT-ATs?
They are. They're called remnant AT-ATs per Hasbro vehicle set at Target.
Okay, this just underscores how I'm not in the same league of fandom, because I always thought they were called AT-ATs.
So did I.
You can say either one.
Yeah, there's some good fan T-shirts that just have 2 amper stamps.
That's awesome. I can just see it. My eyes are up here. Stop staring at my AT-ATs. But I think you're referring to that opening set piece with the AT-ATs, those giant transports on mechanical legs that we saw in Empire Strikes Back. Here they're traversing the mountains of the ice planet Hoth. And I will say for folks, I mean, when this movie is spectacular, it is spectacular. And the opening set piece is worth the price of admission. And in 3D, it was awesome.
I think it was Pedro Pascal in like a promo said something like, this movie is like being on the roller coaster, like from the get-go. I would say it's kind of a long opening, but you don't notice it's long. You just notice like, this is like, it just keeps going and it just keeps getting better. And I really think that, when you compare it to, I would even say Rogue One and Solo, like it's probably one of the best openings. Like the original trilogy, the openings are really slow. Like you have the crawl, and then you have like some Star Destroyer going over some planet, and that's consistent in the first 4 through 4, 5, and 6. But like this one, it's like, dude, we're on. It's what the Mandalorian is supposed to be. It's a spaghetti western,
and that kind of ties to why the title is called Mandalorian and Grogu. It's like it's simplified. It's like the Japanese lone wolf and cub. So it's that way. But I wanted to hear what Wootten and Rick M, what you guys thought. Did it translate into the big screen?
Yeah, I thought it translated well into the big screen, and I think that was a bit of the challenge for me. Is that it really just felt like an extended episode until probably close to the end. It didn't feel as cinematic as I had hoped it would feel. But yeah, I think it transferred very well. I think the interaction with the different characters, it transmitted really well. I think that anytime you got Pedro Pascal, he just does an amazing job. So yeah, I think it worked.
What's interesting, and I'm curious about how the group would feel about this, maybe it was Rolling Stone, I can't remember, but they said, does Disney really need people to make Star Wars work? And the point was the Mandalorian has his mask on through most of the movie. It's mostly voiceover, and almost everyone else, you have animated characters, Grogu and the Azalians, the little Babu Frick people that, in my opinion, should be required in all new Star Wars movies from this point on. And they had a point. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
To me, it still worked. I didn't feel like it was devoid of humanity at all. But I'm curious your reaction to the fact that, especially that whole sequence with Grogu kind of, what was it? The old take care of the young, and then the young take care of the old. That is way. That sequence, no talking, because it was Grogu. He doesn't talk. And they spent quite a long time on that. I liked that particular segment, but it was very different than most movies. I'm curious your reaction to the sort of thought of, does Disney need people?
Yeah, I think you're making a really good point. You asked the question a minute ago about, does the series translate well to the big screen? And I think one of the things that was so impactful about the series is that it totally broke the mold and did something different than what you would normally see in a Star Wars movie. Even in the series, there were many times where there was not a lot of dialogue, and it totally worked. Now, to get to your specific question, but then do you really need humans, or can you go with just the aliens and the CG? I wouldn't say no to that. I would say that it may not play as well, because at the end of the day, movies that work the best are ones where there's somebody that you can associate to or feel a kinship with, and that may be a little bit difficult to do if it was purely just creatures and things like that. But maybe it could. They catch the right energy and make people get into it.
If that's true, the movie would be making a pretty strong argument for AI-generated movies, at least the visuals.
My hot take. I'm a fan of AI generation. I know that that's a dangerous thing to go on, because it impacts a lot of creatives. But this isn't a perfect example where once the technology is there, something like this could totally be fully generated and work.
Okay, we know you chose the robots over humans.
Didn't say that.
We'll remember that
Didn't
when
say
the time
that.
comes.
Robot overlords will remember me.
Keeping this episode for posterity so they know.
Sure, meatbag.
When we come back from this short break, the crew squares off in a Mando and Grogu trivia challenge, so stay tuned.
This episode of Rick and Rick is brought to you by Taskin, the first name in ultra-stylish, premium quality travel gear, like the Taskin Air Duo dual-sided compression packing cubes. One side's 100% air breathable to keep clean clothes fresh and wrinkle-free. The other side's odor and water resistant to keep dirty laundry sealed up tight. Now you can pack up to 40% more in the same space. Save 30% on your next purchase when you use the promo code R&R Take 30. That's R&R Take 30 at taskinsf.com.
Bum 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 Well, if the Empire wasn't dead before, it is now. Welcome back to Rick and Rick Rule the World, as Kurt Ho and Eric V join the Ricks for a Mando and Grogu trivia challenge. We have put together some trivia questions for each other, and like I said, I'll probably lose this one. Who wants to start? Wootten?
Okay, cool. What was the name of the Mandalorian's original ship? Was it A, the Razor Crest, B, the Beskar Bullet, C, the Ghost, or D, the Naboo N1?
The Razor Crest.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the Razor Crest. But I like it that you threw in other Star Wars ships there. The Ghost is a good one.
Yeah, I was trying to throw people off by, I remember that one. And but yeah.
In The Mandalorian and Grogu, Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, is played by A, Pedro Pascal, B, Brendan Wayne, C. Lateef Crowder, D. Martin Scorsese, or E. Taika Waititi? In the movie, The Mandalorian is played by whom?
I was going with Pedro, so
It's A and B.
I would say it's one of those stunt people, which I don't remember their names, but it's not Pedro.
You're all right, but the answer in this case is A, B, and C. So according to StarWars.com and other sources, Pedro Pascal obviously voices Mando throughout the movie, but he only appears on screen in a few places. The character is otherwise a, quote, shared performance between Pascal and, shown only under the mask, Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. There's a reason for this. Wayne is basically the primary suit performer and weapon specialist Mando. So whenever he's having to do something with weapons, and then Crowder is stunt and heavy martial arts in combat sequence Mando. The Kung Fu Grip Mando is played by Taika Waititi.
So who is the answer B? Who plays the Mando? Brendan Wayne. Who is that?
Yeah, I read this and I've forgotten.
Oh, other Rick, you know who he is?
no, unfortunately, don't.
Oh, this is kind of what makes the Mandalorian cool. It's John Wayne's grandson.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, super cool. See, listeners, but you didn't hear that anywhere else.
What's the glowing blue beverage enjoyed by bounty hunters and villagers?
Tribble Milk.
Tribble milk, did you say?
That's gross.
Yeah.
Off the little teeth.
That is, whatever that is, that's gross. I don't know.
I have no
I
idea.
don't know either.
It's not blue milk because it glows, so I don't know what it is.
It's made from the krill, the little blue krills.
Oh, it's in like episode 5 of the Mandalorian where he goes to that village and he kind of falls in love with this woman, but then he has to leave.
Remember what it's called?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Spotchka.
Spotchka. Get some bone broth with your spotchka.
There you go.
I hope it's got some vodka in it. Spotchka brand is going to have a commercial next year's Super Bowl.
That's
There you go.
Who voices Rhoda the Hutt in the movie? Is it A, Jeremy Allen White, B, Jack Black, C, Seth Rogen, or D, Werner Herzog?
A white.
That is correct.
But they manipulated his voice quite a bit, didn't he?
A little bit.
Yeah, and his voice was definitely, I mean, I don't know if they digitally did it or he was just voice acting, but, you know, it definitely had a sound like he was chewing on something. It was definitely a disguised voice, but it was a lot of fun.
A lot of people complain about his dialogue. The bit about, wanting to be his own man did stand out, and it was weird, primarily because he is not a man.
99% of the film is great, and then we have to hear Rhoda the Hutt talk about being a man twice.
Yeah, it does it twice. Yeah.
That's annoying.
Rick and Rick being a marketing show and all, which of the following is not part of Burger King's Out of This Galaxy limited time Mandalorian and Grogu promotional tie-in menu? A, the barbecue bounty Whopper. B, Grogu's blue cookie shake. C, this is the way mozzarella sticks. D, Imperial Cheddar Ranch Tots, or E, the Rat of the Hut, how many bounty burgers did you just eat, you fat meal? Which of these is not on the Burger King Mando and Grogu promotional tie-in menu?
I'm going to guess D.
You going to take a wild guess?
Yeah.
How about you, Kurt?
I'll say the tots.
Well, if the last one is not in the menu.
Okay. Answer is actually C and E. So, yeah, B, how many bounty burgers did you just eat, you fat meal? Is not on the menu,
That's
but
awesome.
neither is C. This is the way mozzarella sticks. In another time and with a different Star Wars movie, they could have offered Darth Taters, extra crispy on the outside, stuffed with cheesy dialogue, helmet sweat, and unresolved family issues. All right, well, that's going to have to wrap up this episode of Rick and Rick Rule the World. Thank you again to our awesome guests. Always great to have you guys, Kurt O and Eric V. Thank you, Rick, and thank you, listeners. Till next time, keep on kicking ass and keep on coming back to the one show where nobody serves the blue milk.
Everybody rules the world.